All right. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me, those who are still here. Great. Um yeah, so I'm so excited for this. It's been quite a challenge for me. I'm not the most tech savvy person, and it's been one heck of a ride this morning. Putting all this together, it kind of went a little last minute, even though I've been working on this for quite some time. So my adrenaline is all fired up and revved. I'm all there. Anyway, so as you all know, and for those who are joining me who don't, uh, back in September, I went on this trip cross country, and my plan was to do a bunch of plein air paintings at the national parks in the United States. And I just wanted to give you a little background. This is actually an idea that I had in grad school. I was working on abstract painting at the time, but there was something in me that really like compelled me to want to just go to these national parks and do paintings of the parks. And I was very close to doing it, but I couldn't quite figure out the logistics at that time in my life. And so it never happened. And I did my thesis in abstract painting, and it never happened. So years go by, and in my mind I'm always thinking about, like, when is the right time to do it financially with what's going on in my life, and also like for my skills in painting to be strong enough to make it worthwhile. And at some point I just kind of pulled the plug and realized it's just not going to happen if I don't do it. And it all kind of worked out perfectly at this time in September, because I had a wedding to go to out in Clear Lake, California, and for some reason things lined up, and I realized that in that moment I could actually drive out to California instead of flying. And there was a lot of other things going on with my life in the studio and with where I was with painting, that I was ready for a little bit of a break. And it seemed like taking that time to focus on painting, to do this thing that I've always wanted to do, it was just time to pull the plug and go for it. And so I put out a pre-sale, if you call it that, and I asked for some help from people through my newsletter. And so what I did was I offered paintings that people could um, basically buy in advance, and I was going to use the funds from that to help um, with the trip and everything. And I'm so glad. Really so glad that people came through, because I was pretty set on going no matter what. But the things that I was able to purchase um, for the trip actually made it really, really work out well. And there were a couple of moments where I had things that I needed that I really wouldn't have brought. I was just going to get in my car and go and not really think much about it. And man, just having access to those resources really helped me set this up. And all in all, there was just a ton of great experiences, and I think the trip was a wonderful success for being a first go at it. But I did learn some things, and one of them was that I was a little bit ambitious about how much I wanted to do in that short amount of time. And so I was basically hitting. I think I hit 18 or so unique destinations within 24 days, and the combination of all of those places, the driving, the sleeping issues, and just hiking, unexpectedly hiking 5 to 10 miles a day, sometimes 15. Um, it made it really difficult to paint, especially having to lug all of my gear everywhere. It was just exhausting. And what I also realized is that going to such unique places throughout the country, it took me a little bit of time to kind of see what the landscapes had to offer. I'm not such a versatile plein air painter. It's almost like comparing those really good like street basketball players who play at the park with professional players. It's like two different games. And my chops plein air at plein air painting weren't quite there where I could just go to a place and set up and crank out a painting. So I found myself needing to really relax and take in the environment, and the amount of time that that took wasn't enough for me to work within the amount of time that I had, for each of these locations. So I ended up resorting to doing a ton of photography. I realized that the next time I do this, round two, I'm going to be going to one location for a month and to work on like a couple of paintings at a different time of the day, but to have these really long sustained uh, painting sessions where I might work on a painting for 20 days in one spot, at the same time of day, and do like several of those. So that's going to allow me to get a higher quality output in a thing like that, and it was good to learn that from this. But I worked I worked on the photography, and I had no idea. Like I knew, I like taking photos in the past, but I really leaned into the photography and found like a real passion for it. I absolutely loved looking at light and form in the world, and to see so many iterations of it. Um, it just really spoke to me, and it really excited me, and I was able to take I mean, I'm still going through all the photos I have. I've easily taken 2 to 3,000 photos, and I've enjoyed editing them and looking through them, and it's just been awesome. So, this online exhibition, it's a brief intro, it's a brief slideshow, and it's set to, in the background. I think they'll be playing one of my songs. It might not come through because of the tech thing here. I'm not sure, but it's a Debussy song, Claire de Lune. I love that song, so I'm putting that in the background of this slideshow, and it's going to be a combination of um, some of the paintings that I've done, some of the paintings that I decided to do after returning from the trip because I wanted to create a little bit more content for everybody, and then a bunch of photos that I've taken. And then following the presentation, I'll jump back on and say a few words, and leave it open to everybody for Q&A. If anybody has a question they want to ask me, you can throw that in the chat, and I'll respond to it. And then I'm going to send you off with a link to a virtual gallery where I've put all the paintings and even more photos for you to check out. So without further ado, I suppose you could say I'm going to go ahead and play this slideshow for you all. And thank you so much. If I can get there. uh, nope. Uh-oh. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. Wait. Oh. Uh-oh, where did I go? Here we go. All right. So that's it. um, when you go to the virtual gallery, you will see um, you'll see one more painting. This one here, um, and that's hanging in the virtual gallery. And you'll see quite a bit more photos. Some of them you've seen in this slideshow, but then you'll see some more too. Um, yeah, just a huge special thanks to everybody who came through for me. Um, I can't believe that I forgot to put in that special thank you to my mom. She helped me out, and I know that it means a lot to you that I chase these dreams that I have. So I really appreciate that, your help, mom, and to everybody else. Roby Farm, I got to give a shout out to them. They came through with this great meat, beef that they gave me to make the food that I actually used for the entire trip. I made these this thing called pemmican, which is basically like a beef jerky with mixed with lard, and it kind of becomes this brick that you can eat. And I lived off of that for the entire time, just eating that through in my car. And Roby Farm came through. They're an amazing farm in New Hampshire. They use regenerative farming practices, family owned for like over a century. And they really, I've been using them when I'm up in New Hampshire for the entire 2 years I've been there, and they're just really good people, and they are a really good community. And so I'm just so thankful that they came through, and I really appreciate them. And the people, I can't name them all, but all the people who I called while I was on the road at different times, and and of course my sponsors. Really, this is the beginning of something new for me in a new direction, and I know that there's going to be more of this to come, and I'm excited for the bigger, uh, more grand projects that I have lined up. And you really just made all this possible, so I'm just forever grateful and thankful for you all to come through like that. So with that being said, looking forward to the next one. But if there's any questions that anybody has, I'm more than happy to take some time and talk about anything that comes to mind. You could just drop a comment and I will answer it. But no pressure. If nothing does come to mind, then we can leave it at that. I'm going to put a link to the virtual gallery um, right now, and let's see if I can. I'm so bad with this stuff, so let me see if I can. Let me see if I can. I can do this here. Sorry. All right. So there's a link to the virtual gallery, and when you go there, it's basically like being in a video game. You can just kind of, or Google Maps or something, you just walk around and click on things, and you can click on the paintings or the images, and I think at the bottom there's a little title that'll come up, and you can just have fun walking around the space and seeing all the work at your own leisure, because I kind of kept it a kind of brief for this presentation. um, but Matt, Matthias Landscaping is a great landscaping business out in northern New Jersey. I've known him for a very, very long time. He's a great guy. So thanks, Matt. Thank you for your support, and thanks for the question. My favorite park, man. There's so much. I think Arches was pretty amazing. Just to see these massive structures that it's all from erosion, and so these huge layers and layers of sediment or rock, that different types of rocks that form on each other, then get a certain layer of the rock gets eroded from the acidity in the water at some point in time, and then what ends up happening is you have like this resorption, and you have these giant rocks that resorb in certain areas that end up creating an arch. And there's just such unique rocks in that whole park, and the red rock kind of thing, and it was just really, really a really unique place. But of course, I got to throw out there that Zion is just an epic place to see also. There's a lot of different types of hikes there, and man, you're in that canyon, and it's just incredible. It's remarkable to be looking up at such high peaks. But I will say that everybody I've spoken to on the trip, they all say Glacier National Park is like one of the best in the country. So I'm looking forward to maybe going there on my next adventure. Um, cool. Thanks for the question, Matt, and thanks for being here. Thank you to everybody for showing up. Um, and I got one more question here. How did I connect within myself with this trip? How do I connect within myself with this trip? It's a deep question. Um, this trip challenged me in a ton of ways. It helped me see where my limits are in my thinking, and fears that I have about different things. Sleeping out in the middle of the woods gave me a real run for my money mentally with my fear of it, and being kind of feeling vulnerable and exposed while sleeping, just being in a little Toyota Yaris hatchback, and just you know I don't I kept saying to myself, man, if I had a dog with me, I'd feel I'd feel a lot safer. But I was just solo, and what I what I realize is that the mind speculates, the mind creates these scenarios, and I just had to shut it down, and learn to identify where my mind is creating the fears and the scenarios, and that I don't have to believe it, and then I can create a different scenario, and I can believe that better one instead. And so the trip not only helped reveal to me the ways that I have fear, it also revealed to me the ways that those fears are limiting what I do with my life. And it also um, helped me problem solve and actually figure out an alternative. Um, and I will also say that the trip, for the entire time I was on the trip, I really unplugged from the drama of media in the world and everything. And that time away was awesome, away from all of the stuff on the news and everything, because I was really just looking at what was tangibly real in front of me, and I was putting myself in front of the most beautiful things that I could possibly see, and all that other stuff just kind of faded away. And I mean, I'm not really I don't really focus much on that stuff anyway, but it's always there, in the day-to-day stuff. But what it made me realize is that there's so much power in choosing where we turn our attention towards. When we direct our attention to things, we want to be informed or whatever, and there's always navigating being informed and being misinformed and being uninformed. But and that's all fine, but I think that it's really also important to spend twice the amount of time, or four times the amount of time, just focusing our attention on things that are positive, that are uplifting, and maybe more close to home, and things that bring us or remind us of the joy in our life. And we have that ability to turn our attention towards those things as often as we want. And so doing that on this trip, it really kind of was healing and refreshing in a way. All right. So we got another another one more question here. What kind of easel did you take? A French easel or these tripod mounted types? Yeah. It was a tripod mounted type. So it's something called the Edge Pro, and it basically looks like a notebook. And you you just open it up, and there's a glass palette on the bottom, and it's got all magnetic clippings that you can clip on your canvas to it. And I actually pre-cut linen into, different sizes, and I had cardboard backings that I would tape or tack the linen to, and then I would use that. This way, I didn't have like 20 canvases in my car. And my great friend and one of the sponsors, Robert, he a long time ago he gave me a camera bag for like putting different types of camera gear and lenses and things, and I used that as my plein air painting bag. And so it's an awesome bag. I still use it to this day, and I could like stick my tripod on the side, carry all my paints, brushes, slip the notebook in the top sleeve. So the assembly is pretty streamlined. I just crank open the tripod and just snap on, just like you would snap a camera to a tripod. I just clip the notebook to the tripod. I open it up, set up the canvas, squeeze my paints out. I got my brushes set up with me, and then I just go to town. So really versatile, really portable, and really convenient. And that's what I use. I had some backups. I had a Gorilla Box, which is another version of that, and then this other type of easel. I'm not sure what it's called, but I had backups just in case something were to happen. There was a period of time where when I was painting at Arches at the Delicate Arch, I was on like this slope, and I was I was kind of just holding myself there while doing this painting, and I kept thinking, oh man, my easel's gonna just fall down uh this giant like incline into this pit, and I'm never gonna see it again. So I was actually holding my easel while painting, and and then in the Badlands it was extremely windy. At one point I was just painting in my car because there was just too much wind. And if the wind blows, as this has happened to me before, the wind blew the easel over, and then the glass palette cracks, and then I don't have a place to mix my paint. So yeah, the I had some backups with me just in case something like that were to happen, but nothing did. Everything worked out perfectly, and so yeah, that was my setup. And Isaac, thanks so much for going to the gallery. Isaac is my man who got married, and he was such a huge player in getting me to do this, because we were just having a conversation, and I was just like, oh, I think I need a better car to do this trip, and I don't know. And then Isaac was just like, why don't you just take the car you got? The thought didn't even cross my mind really. I just had nothing but negative thoughts about it. And um and then when he planted that seed, it really made this whole trip like become possible in a much more real way. So thank you so much, Isaac, for all your support. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. I said this was only going to be about 15-30 minutes. I'm happy to stay longer, but it seems like everybody's said what they need to say and asked their questions, and it's been a good time. So this is a really great thing. I'm really glad to kind of bring a conclusion to this whole project and to start thinking about the next one. And thank you so much for being here, for joining me, and for continuing to show the support that everybody who follows me does. And so thank you. And I guess I'll see you in the newsletter. All right. Take care.